Today we'll be making the S curve bracelet. You will need 5 wrap loops, and each of those have to have very small loops for this bracelet to stay together. We'll be making 3 S shapes and 2, I'm calling them goofy shapes. It's an S shape with an infinity sign in the middle, and 1 wrapped hook, and you'll want to be sure that the loop on that is small and that the hook will work with the wrap loop that's going to be on the end. I've already made my wrapped loops. These you'll want to have very small. I used about less than half, about a third of the way down for these. And the reason is, for this bracelet that we're building now, the S shapes are going to hold these wrap loops together. So you want to be sure that these are small enough they're not going to slide over this once the S is closed, because I want them to move freely throughout this part. So I have my 5 wrap loops up here. You can use medium-sized beads or the bigger ones. I found that if you use all large or focal beads, the bracelet gets very large. So you could do all medium if you want to. I chose to do alternating patterns, so I'm going to do the bigger ones with these in the middle. This one is going to be on the end. I made that one special because the wrap loop on this one is a little bit bigger. I wanted to be sure that the hook will fit through there, so I made it down in here. But the other side is small, so I just made it right here, about a quarter of the way down. And after I made my wrapped hook, I checked it so that that part will fit through here okay, so the bracelet can come on and off without any trouble. I'm going to flatten that out just a little bit there. So if you need any help making these pieces, you can refer back to the other videos for the wrap loop or the wrapped hook. We're doing 3 S shapes and 1 goofy S shape. So I have 1 more I need to make, so I'll show you how to do those. For the S shape, what we're going to use is a wooden dowel rod. You could also use a pencil. It's about the same size as a pencil. We're just going to do a figure 8. So the way I start that is have the tail sticking out. You don't want to stab yourself with it. Makes it a little more comfortable. Go 1 full rotation so that you had the flat side. Very similar to when we do a wrap loop and you have to break the neck, but we're not going to break any necks here. So I have a full rotation here, and then I'm going to go underneath. So I started on the right, I went up, and I'm down on the left. So now this one is going to go around underneath. The easiest way to hold on to that is if you put the loop in between your fingers, lay the dowel rod right there to get that started if you're having trouble with it slipping around. Okay, so I have that going around. And for all of these, I want to be sure to stack my wires. You don't want to go back and forth. So I have a bottom, I have a middle. Now this one is going to go on the top, so it's going to cross right over top of there. So I want to show you that before I get my hands in the way. And if you have any empty space right here, you're just going to roll that around until you have the 2 circles right on top of each other, which I do have. So I'm going to slide this out of the way. So you do want to have 2 perfectly stacked circles. Get rid of any straight pieces in there. If you have a little bit of extra, just put it in there and then roll it down to wherever it needs to be. I'm going to take my cutters and I'll cut right at the intersection. This is very similar to when we did the S clasp with the wire sample number 1. We're going to cut at the intersection, so the tail is going to be cut here and on the other side over here. So I'll use my cutters. Be sure to only cut the 1 layer, the outside layer, right in the middle. And then I'm going to do the other side as well. So if those were on the same side, they would meet up. That's where you want to cut them at. Okay, so at my figure 8 with my 2 tails there. And I'm going to curl the tails in. I don't want them to be fully closed because we're going to have to open them anyway to put the bracelet together. So if you accidentally close them all the way, not a big deal. But I'm just going to take it by the very tip of that wire and I'm going to roll it in. I'm holding my flat nose pliers. I'm holding that side that I'm working on so I don't mess up the circle I just did. If you try to hold it with your hands, sometimes that'll mess up your S shape. So we want to keep that as still as possible. I'm going to curl it in so it's almost closed but not quite, and I still have my circular shape there. I'm going to flip it over. Whoops. this side. And I'm going to grab the tail again. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries because I'm trying to stay at the very end of my wire. And I'm just kind of inching. I'm having to move this around just so I can hang on as close as possible. Okay, so I have my 3 S's there. And then I'm going to make one of this shape. It's the S shape with the infinity sign in the middle. We're calling it the goofy S shape. Everybody knows what we're talking about when we do that. It's going to start off the same. So I'm going to start with the first circle with the dowel rod. And then I'm going to switch to round nose pliers. In our notes that we took, we drew this out in case you forget. It's going to be right here. So I'm going to do the dowel rod, round nose pliers, and back to the dowel rod. So we're going to do this top one and then stop and do that infinity sign. So to make sure, yep, I got all the way around. So for the round nose pliers, I'm going to be about 1/3 of the way down or so. You don't want to be all the way down because that makes this little infinity sign huge. We just want to do a little tiny one. So about that far down. And I'm still going to stack my wires. So this is the one that's important to make sure you're stacking them and not crisscrossing them. So it's going to go up towards the circle. If you go down, it'll end up the wrong way. Make sure that crosses the middle. So I'm making a little teardrop right there, just like we did the S clasp on the last assignment. And then I'm going to flip over to the other side, hanging onto the long wire again. About the same place. If you choose a different place, the sides will be uneven. So about the same spot. It's going to go up towards the circle again. And the tail will go on top. And they should crisscross in the middle. So I should have that little infinity sign right there in the center. And we're going to finish it off with the dowel rod. So just like that figure 8 we did before, it went up, down. Now we have to go underneath and back over. So holding on with my fingers again. And I wrap that around and have the tail on that top side. So now I have quite the stack of wire here. But that's okay. That's what we wanted. And if there's any empty space, you just roll that in so that you don't have any gaps on there. So you should have the 2 circles plus an infinity sign in the middle, which we have. I'm going to cut off those tails just like before at the intersection. And then flip it over, cut the other side too. Oh, slip over your little guy. And then we're going to curl the tails in just like before. So holding with the flat nose pliers, use the round nose pliers to curl that in. Oh, got away. Flip it over. Okay, I'll give it one more because we want it close to closing, but not all the way. And you can fix that a little bit more when we put the bracelet together. So now that you have your pieces, we're ready to put that together. So we're going to lay it out. So we're kind of building a pyramid. I'm going to flip that little guy around so my big loop is on the end here. And I'm going to space out my wrap loops so I can place an S in between them. And I don't know if I'm going to get them in the camera here or not. We'll try. And then my wrapped hook key's on the tail end over here. So we're going to space out the 3 S shapes. And then the 2 goofy shapes are going to go in between. And then we're going to stick an S in between all of these. So my wrapped loop down here that has that bigger end, he's going to be on the end. So that one will go there. And we'll just slide these guys in between. Move these down so we can see. Like that. So I'm going to start with this end to be sure that I have that bigger loop as the bottom of my bracelet. I'm going to slide whichever side I have left open. Yep, there he is. So when I go to assemble this, I slid that on here all the way around so it's out of the way. I'm going to hold on to that S part. And I'm going to make sure that's closed. I'm going to make sure that that is flat. And as I slide that around, it should not be able to escape. So I have the one done. The rest of the assembly of this goes pretty quickly, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to open that one just a tiny bit, and the rest of these don't really matter which side I attach to. So then these will hang right here. So this guy's on the end. Once you get the hang of it, this would be a fun one to try some different shapes with. Different beads, and you could mess around with the different size beads because you could make your bracelet different sizes. You could try different size dowel rods. You could do a paintbrush, would be a little bit smaller but bigger than our pliers, something like that if you wanted to. I actually got this idea from a jewelry party, so that's kind of fun. Oops, I'm going to open that a lot. No worries. And then we're just going to put the last two on.
Little small doing to cut a dowel. You think if I send this down, can you cut it real quick? It's the second person I cut. You want to try and run down quickly? Or you want to be
And I'm going to have to open this one up because I closed it. And then I have the last one. Whoops, hook him in there. So when I'm done, make sure that all these pieces are completely flat and all your wraps have tucked in tails. And double check to make sure your hook works, and it does. And this is your S-curve bracelet.